Welcome to the Explainer. So if you're the kind of focused learner who really loves figuring out the hidden mechanics of your own mind, you are in exactly the right place today. We're going to unpack a super relatable but honestly rarely understood behavior. We're diving right into the fascinating psychology behind why we listen to the exact same song over and over again on endless repeat.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever found a new song and just played it like dozens of times in a row? I mean, maybe your friends or your family or even your coworkers think this habit is a little strange. Maybe they've literally begged you to change the track, or hey, maybe your Spotify Wrapped looks just a little bit embarrassing at the end of the year. But here is the secret we're going to uncover today. Psychology actually proves your mind has a very specific, protective purpose for doing this. You aren't just stuck. Your brain is actively working to help you navigate your day.
Okay, let's dive into this. To keep our cognitive load low right from the jump, we're going to use this as our safe script for today's explainer. We'll hit 1. The infinite loop phenomenon, 2. Craving a safe script, 3. Regulating your emotional chaos, 4. Fueling your fake scenarios, and finally, 5. Reclaiming your autonomy.
All right, moving into section 1, the infinite loop phenomenon.
So let's demystify the whole societal stigma around putting a track on endless repeat. It's often described almost as if your brain is trying to extract something specific from the melody. And if you think about it, even when you know every single beat, every bass drop, every lyric, you just can't hit stop. And that's because your brain is doing active, targeted work here. It is literally pulling something it desperately needs from that familiar rhythm just to function optimally.
That brings us straight to section 2, craving a safe script. Okay, so this brings us to a foundational concept in psychology called predictive processing. Basically, this is the brain's constant attempt to make sense of the world around us by asking one really simple question. What does this mean next? See, our minds inherently crave a safe script. When we're navigating a world that feels totally unpredictable, our brains become desperate, absolutely desperate for an environment where there are zero surprises.
Think about the huge contrast between our chaotic daily lives and a perfectly familiar song. An expected melody lets a highly sensitive or too aware mind finally take a break. Because your brain doesn't have to work hard to process any new information or anticipate sudden changes, all that internal noise just quiets down. The song basically becomes this perfectly structured, predictable sanctuary for an exhausted mind.
And this brilliantly illustrates section 3, regulating your emotional chaos. So, a familiar song is actually a powerful tool for regaining emotional balance through a totally manageable environment. Some people need to physically clean their entire kitchen or aggressively organize their desk just to calm down. Well, a familiar melody does the exact same thing for a hyperactive nervous system. If you're feeling stressed out, that one specific track acts as an auditory grounding mechanism. It takes all of that swirling emotional chaos and transforms it into something stable, manageable, and entirely under your control.
Which leads right into section 4, fueling your fake scenarios.
A lot of times, this infinite loop is actively filling emotional gaps that might not be getting met in your real life. You know what society so quickly dismisses as just silly daydreaming is actually a vital, incredibly safe rehearsal tool that your brain uses to cope with reality.
Think about it. While that song loops endlessly in the background, you might literally be having full conversations in your head. Maybe you're finally winning that imaginary argument in the shower, right? Or you might be imagining situations where you finally feel understood by your peers, or you're rehearsing feelings of success right before a big meeting. Maybe you're just seeking validation. The music provides the ultimate cinematic emotional backdrop for these fake scenarios. It allows you to fulfill these really deep psychological needs safely, predictably, and in a highly controlled manner.
And finally, we arrive at section 5, reclaiming your autonomy.
Now, we absolutely have to factor in decision energy. This is the small but incredibly real hidden cost and mental power required just to process new information. If you're an overthinker, someone who analyzes every tiny little interaction at work or spends the whole day stressing over complex problems, your brain gets overloaded incredibly fast. By the time you actually get a single moment to yourself, your mental battery is just completely drained.
So, the crucial point is that choosing a brand new song carries the hidden costs of that decision energy. You have to evaluate it, process the new beat, figure out the lyrics, but hitting repeat on a familiar song, that requires absolutely zero effort. Zero! It allows you to stay engaged and emotionally stimulated without draining your already depleted mental battery even further.
Plus, this habit is a profound way to restore internal control.
The loop is driven entirely by your own internal standards. It's about rejecting imposed rules, completely ignoring what random algorithms or radio stations are telling you to listen to, and valuing the process of the experience way over the outcome of just hearing something new. Honestly, hitting repeat is a small, brilliant act of defiance. For people who feel uncomfortable with external structures dictating their day, choosing your own musical loop is a massive way to reclaim your autonomy. You get to stay in a perfect moment of your own making, completely free from the demands of the outside world.
Which brings us to the core thesis of this entire explainer. It's not a glitch. It is a predictable cognitive loop perfectly designed to protect your energy. And, understanding these patterns is just incredibly empowering. It means you can stop seeing your quirks as problems. You aren't annoying, and you aren't stuck. Instead, you can start seeing these behaviors as the neuroprotective strengths they actually are. Your brain is brilliantly taking care of you.
So I want to leave you with this provocative question. Once you decode the why behind your habits, what else will you understand about yourself? When you really realize that your brain is working for you, it just sparks a whole new curiosity about your own psychology. Keep paying attention to those little routines, keep learning, and above all, absolutely enjoy your infinite loop. Thanks for tuning into this explainer.